waste enough time.
Right. Take us into it. Alright, so what we doing? Open, alright? Alright. We got our rants. We got our wrenches. Let's do it. So guys, welcome back to another video, and today we are going to talk about the big question: what is better, Euro or Japan?
You gonna start this one off?
Me?
Yeah, you gonna start it off.
All right. So if you know me, seriously, if you know me, everything Japan, better. Always better. Easy to work on. Depending on what car you get, the parts are cheaper. Overall, it's just a better, how you say it? A better brand and a better platform to work on cars, learn how to modify cars, just to learn the basics, even driving wise, and it's just an overall better beginner car, and you can bring it to an expert level depending on what mods you go into and what brand you get. So everybody know you got Honda. That's always a good starting car. The engines could take a beating. You could launch it all day, and you're guaranteed to have that engine still work, no matter what. The clutch is cheap. Intake is cheap. Exhaust is cheap. You could build it to high horsepower. You could turbo it. Go all motor if you want. So there's a lot of room work in that. Now you got you got Subaru, another great platform. You know, there's some bad reputations about the engine, whatever. It blows up, whatever. If you don't take care of the car, of course it's not it's gonna blow up regardless. Now, on a European standpoint, what I would give to them is they make a better interior, in my opinion. They go all out with the interior. Better seats, better trimming, you get better stuff inside, radio, speakers. Performance wise, I'm not gonna lie, they do a good job with that too. Their motors hold more power than usual, Japanese cars, unless you're gonna spend money on it, and then you'll get an engine that's decent. But they do a pretty good job. I don't know, Rich looked like he got a different opinion than what I'm saying. When he know I'm telling the truth.
So what I will say is that the market is definitely inundated / saturated with Japanese motors or cars, platforms, going from Nissan, Mitsubishi, Subaru, Honda, Toyota, and then you get into their luxury halves, like Lexus, Infiniti, Acura, there are definitely good platforms that you can play around with, mess around with. The problem is that, in my eyes, is that they are cheap. The fact that they're everywhere is part of their appeal. And the fact that if you get, so like with Joe Subi, that what, 2.5 liter?
Yeah.
Right? 2.5 liter flat four. All right? Probably about 325, 400 horse. You know, you can, we got to start building up the bottom end.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Right. But now if you look at a German equal Porsche, granted, much higher level of quality of performance, but they use similar motors, flat fours, flat sixes, turbocharged, non-turbocharged. Why are they able to get out so much more power from the get-go than Subaru? Because in order to keep the cars affordable, they go with some cheaper materials. Not that, the way the motors are built are cheap, because they put a lot of R&D into building up those cars, but they don't build them to the same capability that Porsche does. You know what I'm saying? So you can take a Porsche motor. I say my favorite Porsche, the GT series, the GT, the GT2 RS, the GT3, I believe, which is coming out soon, if not already. I believe it's about like 5 something out the gate.
You're right.
And I do believe the all-wheel drive system is the same as Subaru's. I'm not quite sure. I will have to do some research on that. But listen,
ain't nothing the same.
Calm down. All right, relax. But right there, you've got your German counterpart. Does it cost more? Absolutely. Absolutely. But with that higher cost, you're getting double the performance, the quality, and the expectation of being able to just whomp anybody. You know what I mean? Count Gapula. You know what I mean? Just buy. Right. Now, when you look at, let's say, Volkswagen and Honda, right? Around the same time, I would say early 90s.
Yeah.
I call them the catfish Hondas or the goldfish Hondas, because they look like they were lost all the time.
Which one?
Like the 94 to 95 body styles. I don't know the code. Someone will tell me the code. If you know the code of like the 92 to like 97 Honda Civics, put it in the description.
EG?
Maybe. I don't know.
I had a 94.
Okay, so then the EG.
Right. I love that car.
So they made working on cars, swapping out parts and stuff like that. That was their thing, right? They made it, switch, like B15, B16 heads, swapping it, different bananas, right? But the brand and the vehicle that made tuner cars what they are today was Volkswagen with the GTI. Getting a little hot hatch, bring it over to the States, something that most people didn't like, and now you're throwing parts on it, you're slamming it, you're throwing an exhaust intake, you're upgrading, you're doing all this stuff for a little front wheel drive cars, where prior to that, you're looking at muscle cars, or, it had to be like a full-blown track car. You know what I mean? Typically, you were looking at cars that you weren't able to get your hands on. Volkswagen made that possible, right? Mm-hmm. So, and even still, those smaller motors, right, can still hold and take a bit more abuse than its Japanese counterparts, without having the bottom end to be built up, right? The last episode I mentioned my Jetta, the tune that I'm looking at, 235 with the crank, with minimal, I want to say $600 worth of aftermarket parts.
Shoot.
Going from 150 to almost 250, right? So that to me is a huge, huge difference, right?
It's a big increase.
You know, which
Big
is
one.
something that a lot of the American cars are capable of. You throw an intake on it, boom, 5 horsepower right away. No tune, nothing, right? Muscle cars have that luxury where you throw a part on them, boom, instant power.
Mm-hmm.
German cars kind of sit in that little gap where you need a tune,
Well, you have some room.
but you have some room to play with it to kind of feel the result of what you're slapping on, and to feel what your money is doing. But you know you can get more if you spend more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whereas, you know, let's go with Toyota, right? They just brought back out the Supra, but it's a BMW motor.
Mm-hmm. Everything
Right?
about it is BMW.
Pretty much everything about it is BMW. I think except for the suspension. I think the suspension is Toyota. But anyway, you compare it to the Mark IV Supra, which was like pretty much like the pinnacle of like the Mark 1, the Mark 2, the Mark 3 Supras, right? The Mark 4 was like, wow, you know what I mean? That's amazing. But they just let it fall by the wayside. That was an amazing motor. You know what I mean? An iron lower end could hold up to 1,000 horsepower easily.
Mm-hmm.
Easily. You know what I mean? And really all you had to do was tune it with no other upgrades. You know?
Most companies do that. That's the thing I don't get about them. You have a car that people are willing to buy, no matter what age they are. You know what I mean? They're willing to finance that car, and then you go like, all right, we're done with that.
Well, because if you look at it now, when they brought back out not when they brought back out, but when they finally brought a GTR over to the States that was U.S. compatible from the get-go, how much did that car cost? All the R&D that they put to make the car what it is, to then have to mess it up to make it compatible for the people in the U.S. You know what I mean? All that hundreds of thousands of dollars in R&D, and then you got like, oh, we got to throw this in there too. We got to throw that in there too. I think cars are getting heavier now. Cars are getting bigger. Pickup trucks are huge compared to what they used to be. Massive. You know what I mean? Now a mid-size sedan looks like a full-size.
Yeah.
And a full-size sedan looks like a mini, looks like a minivan. Looks like a small minivan. Yeah, it's crazy because of all the stuff that they have to throw in. That's why when we transition to electric, it's going to be bananas because you got all these tiny little packages for safety stuff, and you got just, you know what I mean, you don't have all the same things that you have in a regular combustion engine. You know, but stay on track.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that the Germans are in a nice kind of gray area where you get the reliability of what the Japanese are doing, but then you also get some of the, not some of the best part of having an American car. You throw something onto it, boom, you can feel the difference right away without having to spend $500-$700 on a tune.
That's true.
You know what I mean? Which kind of leads us into our next point of feeling the difference. What car sounds the worst with an aftermarket exhaust? Go ahead.
Well, you already know the number one car for that. Sadly to say. Honda.
Terrible.
Except for the Type R's, where you know they sound good because they turbocharged and it's a whole different setup.
I honestly haven't even heard the Type R.
They sound amazing.
I've seen them, but I haven't heard them.
Night and day. It was like the best car that Honda ever made so far, to me, in my opinion, performance-wise. Besides the Acura, always had the nice look, the better performance. You put exhaust on it, it sounds amazing.
Well, you gotta realize that Acura only exists in the U.S. Acura doesn't exist over in Japan. Everything is Honda over in Japan because only Americans gotta one up each other with like luxury.
But
I'll give you that. Like Acura,
mhm.
has always sounded better, but they were also, even back then when they had like the Legend and the Acura Vigor, which was a very limited run car. It was like a full size coupe, which if you find one of those things, you probably, I would probably say about 10, 15 grand for like a 25, 30-year-old car because there's so little of them. But yeah, Honda sound absolutely terrible. I would honestly say Acura, Toyota, Nissans aren't bad. Nissans sound out. Mainly the Z cars. The Z cars sound really good, stock or aftermarket.
Yeah.
But
even the Maximas, I heard there was a guy at work who had a Maxima, blacked out.
Yeah. Well, the Maxima's got a V6 in it.
Yeah, that's true though. That's true though.
The Maxima has like a, I believe it's like a tuned down version of the VQE. Actually, no, I think it's the same exact freaking motor. I don't think it's tuned down because that's got like 300 horse.
Yeah, stop.
Yeah, stop. So it's literally the same thing as the 370, with the exception of that it's got the crap CVT and it's front wheel drive. Put all wheel drive in the Maxima.
I think they actually did.
No, they didn't. It's
sure?
the Ultima.
The Ultima, right?
The Ultima's got all wheel drive.
Why?
But you can't get it with the 4-liter turbo. Boom.
Swap it. Bring it in. That's all you can do.
Yep. But yeah, but as far as my bad sounding car, I would go with the Honda's step cousin Toyota. I've heard people put exhaust on the Corollas, or like the Corolla hatches, which don't look bad because they were the Zions. The Zion TC didn't sound bad, but it still sounds like a bumblebee. The Honda sounds like a fly. The Zions / Toyotas sound like an overweight bumblebee, which is whatever, same thing. But yeah, that I don't like that. Especially nowadays where like it's bad enough to get it on the outside, but now they're pumping sound to the inside of cars now, through like the speakers and whatnot. Because they're trying to make the cars more comfortable and safer, so like a lot of the air gaps inside the car get sealed up from all the technology and the cushioning and stuff.
Right.
So you watch car reviews and stuff, and like they're like piping in like fake noise. I'm like, so not only do I have to hear it as I'm driving by, but if I sit in someone's car, I got to hear crap too. It's very offensive to me.
Hey, you got to progress somehow.
Not that way. Stop the fakeness.
I think if you have a car that is not at least 4-cylinder, 2.4, 2.5, don't put exhaust on it. It sounds horrible because it's not enough. You don't get that. You're not getting
What's the last
a
company
lot
that
of
made
air.
a 2.4 cylinder?
Who
made a 2.4 within recent years? I haven't seen a 2.4 liter 4-cylinder.
They going away.
The last 2.4 I remember was the Chevy Z24.
Let me see.
That was like the last one back in the early 2000s.
Well, what I had a Hyundai Sonata, which is Korean.
Did that? I don't really.
I think that was a 2.4,
okay.
And I did put a muffler on it, and it sounded good.
The Sonata. You're talking about the old ones, the old joints.
No, 2013.
Whose Hyundai Sonata did you put an exhaust on? Your dad?
This is mine.
Oh. Oh God.
When I first got hired, I had it, and then that's when.
The only Hyundai Sonata you catch me driving is the Veloster. The Veloster
I love those.
that, man.
I love those. I saw that. I was like, let me go.
You're too big for it. You're bigger than the car.
Everybody say that. Even the Subaru. I go in there. You're like, hey, what car you drive? I drive the Subaru. Yeah, that little thing, you can fit in there. I'm like, listen, it's not even It's like a regular car. What are you talking about? You act like I'm driving a smart car. You know what I mean? Oh, you're too big for that. No, I'm not. They expect me to drive a Charger or a Challenger or something.
Well, you do have a Charger.
My wife do, and I don't really like driving it. I call it, what is it? I call it, it's just a box.
No big man likes a big car.
It's just a box.
It's always little guys. Little guys like the big cars. All right, and then the big guys like the little cars. Kind of like Oscar the Grouch.
Yeah. What else?
I think that's
Yeah,
I think that's pretty much about it for today. So, as always, comment, like, subscribe, ring the bell, and then leave any recommendations for future conversations down in the comment section. Or you can even go on Instagram, hit us up, let us know there. The link is down in the description.
Follow our Facebook page too, don't forget.
Wrench Daily.
Wrench Daily.